Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me. I hope you're well. I have finally made it to Hollywood. Yeah, not that Hollywood. This is Hollywood Stockport. And I'm here because I'm going to be using the Mamiya RB67 to do some panoramic shots. So I'm going to be doing a bit of that. Going to the studio, doing some black and white processing. And I thought I'd also show you some of the street photography I've been doing around Manchester over the last couple of weeks, because we've had a gorgeous couple of weeks. This weather, it's unprecedented. I really don't know quite how it's happened, but I'm going to soak up the sun as much as I can before we return to the gloom and darkness that we know is just around the corner. But right, so I have got with me here the RB67 or 67, I don't really know how you say it. I guess it's 67 because it's 6x7. But here's the beast, and it's loaded with an expired by about 20 years 125 speed, I think it's Ilford FP4, so I'm rating it at 50. I've already metered and I'm going to try and get a nice panoramic of the area here. So we'll do that, we'll go to the studio, we'll process it, and then we'll talk about the street photography. So yeah, let me crack on. I'll bring you back as soon as I can.
So yeah, I won't show you the photo now because it would spoil the jeopardy as to whether it comes out or not. Oh, I think I've just let the cat out of the bag, haven't I?
Okay, so here we are back in what a friend of mine calls my volcano lair. It isn't lost on me the irony that this is the only room in the mill that is painted black amongst all the other white ones. So yeah, lovely. Anyway, we will get to it. And there's somebody hammering next door. I will get the dart box set up and then I can get the film out of the camera because it's a 35mm, so it needs to be rewound in darkness because it's not got the paper, it doesn't go onto the other roll. Watch the video about doing the 35mm if you want to know more about it. Right, let's get on. Okay, so here we are again. Now I'm reusing old developer, so again, I don't have high hopes for this, but I really can't afford to be getting more in at the moment, so let's use what we've got. And now we wait. So while we wait, why don't you have a look at some of the street photos that I took in Manchester recently that I think will probably be the highlight of the video.
So this first photo, it was the first one I took on the trip out, and I think it's probably my favourite. It's a place that I've shot many times before, but it just goes to show how you can take a place and do something new with it however many times you've shot it, because I don't think I've ever thought of dividing it up into sections using those memorial stones. So I've compartmentalised this figure, which is absolutely bang in the centre of the frame, walking across. He's one of my lonely walkers. That's a feature of a lot of my street photography work, and the lighting just made it work really well. So a combination of finding a new viewpoint and somebody wearing light coloured clothes so they stand out against that dark background, because so many people wear dark colours that it's very hard to make them stand out against these dark backgrounds. But this one really worked, so a good start to the day. Just so you know, by the way, these are all shot on my little Lumix G100 with the Pancake 20mm lens on it, and my settings as well. It's always set to a custom setting that I use, 1/500th of a second and f8, and then it selects the ISO as best it can from that, and I find that works really well. And I also have the focusing set to manual. When I switch the camera on, it defaults to the hyperfocal length, and that pretty much works for most things, except, as you'll see later on, if I've set it to a close subject and then something happens far away, sometimes it's a little bit too late to change it. So another lonely figure here. I'm trying to show these in sequence again, so this isn't taken straight after the other one, but I was looking for single isolated figures in the big environment, and this one kind of worked for me as well. I like all the crosses on the building and on the ground, and this single figure, again, not quite the centre of the frame, but isolated against the dark background, so it works really well, I think, and looking straight out at me. Again, this is another figure in the centre of the frame, but partially hidden, and I liked the eat, drink, play above. And the figure is smoking a cigarette, I think, or a vape, and they've got blue gloves on. So it's that kind of slightly sinister, slightly weird thing, not the normal thing you'd see on the street, but it's really probably just somebody who's cleaning up and having a cigarette while they're waiting. And again, nice little geometrics left and right, if you can make those out with the shadows. This one, I just like the light, the cyclist going across the empty street with the buildings. These were tall buildings in Manchester back in the day, but they're now quite small compared to the skyscrapers that make the skyline such a pickle. But yeah, a classic shot. Doesn't shout out at you, but it's a nice standard street shot. So this is the one I was talking about. I'd set my camera to a minimum focal length to take a picture of something else, and then these two guys walked across carrying mirrors from a van to an apartment or an office that they were taking to, and it was a brilliant composition because you could see their faces reflected in the glass, but I could not get the camera focused fast enough to get them properly in focus. So it's not one that I will be able to keep, but I just wanted to show it because I think it had the potential to be a really lovely one in a million moment, but it just shows that's why street photography is so fun and so frustrating, because something like this won't happen again without making it a fake, which I just don't do. It probably won't happen again ever in my experience, so I've missed that shot forever. But you've just got to put that aside and think, yeah, but think of all the millions of other shots that are potentially out there that you are going to get next time. And that's what I tried to do to get over the disappointment, decided to look something completely different. And so my photos from this point on take a slightly different tack, and there's a different look to them. I decided to go in a bit closer and get figures a bit closer and look at colour, look at pops of colour. So this first one, it's a guy with a bright red hat, and I've managed to isolate him in this white portion of the frame. And yeah, I kind of like that one. And then again, red popping out. It's a DHL delivery guy outside the Zenith building, which I've photographed many times. That building, there's one which was in my Street B series of a figure walking down this street from a very different angle. But I like this one as well, and I like the way the car, specular highlight on that, because I'm using the diffusion filter, which I usually use. Again, I should have mentioned that earlier. I usually use a very mild diffusion filter now on my 20mm pancake lens to get more of a film look to the digital. So that, combined with the processing that I do afterwards, hopefully makes it fit with the film look. But yeah, I like that. I like the way the car, also the lines lead in to the figure, as do the lines of the street. Again, because I was looking for pops of red, I was drawn to this phone box, and I became kind of obsessed with this phone box. So you'll see this first picture, I'm fairly far away from it, and I'm using it to try and frame figures in the street. I've got one person in the sun, one person in the shade, and I quite like that composition. But then I moved closer in and tried to use the pane of glass with the graffiti on it as the frame, and to see if I could pick out any figures behind it. And then I went even closer and tried from there, and I was interested. It says Analog Revival, a sticker on the phone box, so I thought it was worth keeping that, even though otherwise it's not a particularly interesting shot. And then I went closer still, and this one I really like because you can just see the red. You wouldn't notice that phone box if I hadn't shown you the earlier ones, but it is that phone box, and you're looking through it, and there's this figure walking past, and he's looking straight at me, but the reflections in the glass, it's very hard to see that, and it kind of looks almost supernatural because his eyes seem to have taken on this red glow, which is actually from the reflection. So I think that works quite well. Still looking for colour pops, but also trying to get closer in and get some sort of narrative to the images again. And I kind of like this one. You've got the business person just coming out of the shade in the suit, and then you've got the old man in his bright orange t-shirt and I think they were shorts that he was wearing with his little satchel. And it's that thing of, to my mind, you know, there are many stories you could interpret in this. You could think it was kind of sinister, this guy following this other person, but I just see it as the slumped sort of worker And then finally you get to retirement and you can enjoy life. You can see the grey hair of the retired guy and you're in the sun for a moment. But then, of course, you are old and it is only a temporary reprieve before we head back into the darkness. So yes, sorry, a bit dark there, but that was kind of my thinking. But into the bright again. I really like this one, again using the pops of colour. This is a building on Oldham Street in Manchester. I think it used to be the Big Issue offices, but it's obviously turned into something else now. And I just was drawn to all these multicoloured patterns and I wanted to catch somebody going past it, and I think it works really well because the guy's just looking over his shoulder, which gives some sort of narrative, and there's the white van coming across with somebody in it. And also the angles of the van and the way the light strikes it echoes the shapes and colours in the background, and you've got the North Star wording there, which is obviously the name of this building, but I think North Star, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to create here in the north. So there you go. Maybe not my star photo, but I kind of like it. I think that works. And a close-up of the van. It's not actually the same van and it's not the same building behind, it's a little bit further on, but I just saw the little dog poking his head out of the passenger window, and I'm a sucker for dogs doing anything interesting and geometric, so yeah, thought I'd get that one while I could. And here I was just wrapping up the day, just taking a few sort of classic street photos, because I do try and create photos that have a kind of message to them and an ongoing theme. But I also realised that when I look back in 10, 15 years time, God willing, I will be thinking, oh, I wish I had some just pictures that just showed the life of the street, just vanilla, good composition, but not trying to hide where it was, trying to use deep dark shadows, just something that actually shows what it was like to be there. So that's one of those pictures there. And this is another. I really like the graffiti on the taxi, and the colours are really nice, and the couple just in the bottom of the frame, just giving it some sort of narrative again. Nothing very interesting, nothing very exciting, but just, it's not an empty street. There's things going on, and these are the sorts of people that you would see on the streets of Manchester in 2025. And again, this is the sort of street life that you get in Manchester on a sunny day now, and I think that was a really good place to wrap it up. I think that was the last shot I actually took on the day. I wasn't expecting the guy to come across on his bike. I was just trying to take a picture of the corner, but it made it a really nice picture, and I thought, right, let's leave it at that. Let's go and do something else. And so back to the studio and those panoramics. How did we get on with those?
Okay, so time for the moment of truth. Is there actually going to be anything on this film? With all the things that we've done wrong, I suspect not, but sometimes film can be quite forgiving. Sometimes it can. Oh, there is something on it. I'm always amazed. I revel in not doing things by the book, but sometimes I do things completely not by the book just because there's no other choice and I don't expect to get anything. But actually, there's something on here. Probably those of you film aficionados will be getting really angry and upset and saying this is travesty, but I do have some panoramics on there.
Yeah, so they're mucky and grimy, but that's kind of what I wanted to do. It was partly about just reusing everything, expired film, expired chemicals, and just chucking it all in and hoping for the best. I didn't even keep to the correct timings. I just kind of guesstimated it and let fate decide. But, it's that thing where I think to do film photography nowadays, you have to make it fun. You have to give yourself a reason to do it that way. And if you wanted to have a perfect result, as I always say, digital is just so much better now. But if you want to do something organic and grimy and that has your own literally fingerprints on it, then film is the way to go. And it has fulfilled that mission for me. And you can see that in this picture, which is where I started the video. This is Hollywood. And I actually didn't go for a panoramic horizontally in the end. I went for a vertical one because I wanted to get that full tower in. And it's really nice. And I always love the perforations that you get on these pictures because I just think they add something. And again, you could put it on in Photoshop, couldn't you? But it wouldn't be the same. It's about the process. I keep saying it's about the process. It's about the enjoyment of doing it. It's about getting your hands dirty. It's about, you know, the smells and the, you know, all that stuff and the washing up and and the cleaning everything up afterwards. It's that event that makes it special and that will make me remember this photograph that I would probably just put in an archive somewhere if it was on digital and not think anything of it. But because of the way I created it, it adds something to it. It elevates it. That was actually the end of the film. I thought I had more film to play with, but it was only a 24 exposure roll. But I had taken some panoramics already on a quick trip to Bollington with Lucy earlier in the week. This one here is the view down from White Nancy, which is a beacon up on the top of a hill in Macclesfield, near Macclesfield. And I'm looking down on the town of Bollington and the hill above it. And this is one of those examples of where the resolution of a medium format camera would really work, because if I did blow this up to full size, you would be able to see so much detail in these houses. Even with this expired grainy film, you will obviously see lots of scratches and bits of muck on the film as well, but that could all be cleaned off, and you've got this fantastic high resolution black and white image of a really complicated scene. I also took a picture looking the opposite direction, out towards Jodrell Bank actually, but I was trying to capture the two people sat looking out over the hillside. Because of the way I'd set the camera up, I was having to compose it when it was on its side and tilt it, so I wasn't able to be very accurate, and that's why the horizon is completely askew there. But I don't think it really matters too much in this shot. And again, if I was going to do something with it, I could adjust the tilt slightly, but then I'd lose the sprocket holes, of course. And this one, that's White Nancy itself, the beacon, with Lucy sat in front of it. She was waiting for me to take some more pictures. And the final one here, which is of, you know how much I love my canal boats and my canals. This is the Macclesfield Canal, which runs through Bollington. And we went down to a really nice cafe in a mill. I can't remember the name of the mill. I think it'd be on with the sea. But anyway, it's down there, and you go across an aqueduct, and the cafe is there, and you can sit outside, and they do full English all day and stuff like that. But yeah, another panoramic. I think this boat actually sells coffees and teas as well. I don't know if it's always stationed there or if it was just there for the day, but yeah, well worth a visit if you're in the area. You can go up some little steps that lead from a big archway up onto the aqueduct, and then you can walk along to this mill in Bollington. If I remember the name of it, I'll pop it in the description so that you can look it up. But that's the last of the panoramics.
So there we go, that is it for this time. Just a bit of a maintenance video really, just something to show you that I'm still out here doing stuff, even if it's rather unprofessional and thrown together. Next time it will be much more professional and less thrown together, but you'll miss it unless you like, share, subscribe. So please do that, it would really help me out, really do appreciate. That's it for now. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves, enjoy what you're shooting. Bye for now.